Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the Pranic Healing Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jason Ren. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about the title, which is Receptivity and Conductivity, and how to use energy to build and live your best life. So, the founder of Pranic Healing, Master Choa Kok Sui, developed this energy healing system for alleviating suffering and to improve health for every person. And for those that are not familiar with what energy healing is, it's basically using this invisible life force energy to remove and stimulate energy flow in the body for health and healing. So, energy healers, pranic healers, we understand the concept of using energy for well being, but it's also a lot deeper when we look at it from a bigger picture on what this concept of energy is and how we can apply it to use it in our life to, again, live a better life. So, what I mean is, with receptivity and conductivity, there are two parts to this energy. Receptivity is basically your openness, your willingness to receive and take in this energy, but that doesn't close the loop. Once you receive this energy, you must be conductive, meaning you have to use this energy and apply it. Okay. So the example is, think of yourself like a copper wire, as the example that we use in pranic healing. As a copper wire, your purpose is to have electricity pass through the copper wire. So your receptivity, right, your ability to take in this electrical current depends on the purity of your copper wire. So a copper wire that is 90% pure versus a copper wire that is 99.99% pure will have some differences. And as we know, the copper wire that is closest to 100% purity will have the best receptivity and conductivity, meaning that the electrical current will go through the wire and pass through it much more efficiently than the copper wire that is not near 100% purity. And I use that example to kind of parlay and correlate that for us as human beings. You know, a lot of people contribute challenges, limiting belief systems based on their physical body, right? Based on their physical limitations, meaning, I don't have the right job. I'm not living where I want to be. I don't have the right relationships, right? So all these physical circumstances, as Master Choa has taught us in the teachings, is that spirituality, although the challenges might look the most tough on the outside, the biggest challenges are actually internal. Our internal dialogue, conflict, and narrative within ourself. So that is why is almost even more important to at yourself from the way you think, the emotions you feel, because that will ultimately affect how you act in this world. And therefore, as we know with energy, energy is very subtle, but it can be manipulated first by using our thoughts, using our consciousness. Same thing with any other energy healing practice, right? When you want to treat a patient, you have to think before you act on it. You have to choose the area to heal. And same thing in our lives, we must be aware of the limiting thought forms, belief systems, the emotions that is holding us back, that is limiting our receptivity and conductivity. And to give an example with energy healing, you can have the, best trained healer, a person that has taken all the classes, that has taken high level classes versus a person that just took, the first level class, the basic class. And the level, the capability of a healer is not by the status, not by how many courses they took or how many years of experience they have. The true metric of a good healer is, of course, producing results, but how you produce those results, how you get those results from healing, actually comes from, again, their receptivity and conductivity. Meaning, as we know in energy healing, we are just a channel, we are just a bridge for the healing. But if we have these limiting thought forms, these limiting emotions, whether it's related to the healing or not, will affect the degree of our receptivity and conductivity. It will affect the amount of energy that comes through our body, and it will affect the amount of energy that passes through our body to help the client, the patient, for the healing purpose. So, this is again an example from the healing perspective, right? Now we understand that it's really, really, really important to have this openness, this willingness to receive and apply this energy for healing purposes. But it can be taken to a higher example when it comes to the blessings and the goals and the desires that you want in your life. And I can give an example with that because this is something that I've been working through as well. Speaking of trying to practice what I preach, in terms of using this concept of receptivity and conductivity to achieve my goals. And the way that I kind of describe this is there is the law of karma, right? The law of karma is the law of cause and effect, if you want to see it objectively. So we understand that whatever you put out there in the world, you will get back. So if you plant seeds for strawberries, you will get strawberries. If you plant seeds for apples, you will get an apple tree for apples. And also, we understand if you send good thoughts, right? If you give people positive emotions, you do good acts of deed out there for supporting charities, for supporting those that are less fortunate, you build that good karma bank, and eventually that comes back to you. And for most people listening to this podcast, I would have to assume that you probably have a pretty good heart. You have a sense of compassion for people. You have a certain desire to help people taking actions. You generally have what's called a good karma bank, meaning you have good luck. And it's interesting because how good karma manifests, how your good luck manifests, is also dependent on yourself. And it's interesting because without this concept of energy and spirituality as taught to us by Master Choa Koksui, it's almost hard to believe that luck is not random or luck is not, it just happens out of nowhere. Because as we know, with energy, everything happens in the right place at the right time for yourself. And when we talk about spirituality, which is all about becoming a better person, right? Character development, trying to help people grow and evolve and transform, that is also very important because you become the conduit, you become the bridge for these blessings. And as you become the bridge, you yourself also, again, you have to receive these blessings. And for myself, I definitely struggled with the concept of receiving and giving this energy, right? Being receptive and conductive to this energy, meaning that I would do a lot of good deeds, right? Would have seemingly really great opportunities pop up in my life. Again, I would have to attribute maybe because of the good things I've done in the past. But a lot of the times, I would not even recognize those opportunities, right? Those good luck moments. And if I were to even be aware of those good opportunities that would pop up, I wouldn't be able or willing to act on it. So again, that goes back to receptivity and conductivity. Receptivity being open, being aware of what you're receiving, and conductivity, which means taking action and acting on that opportunity. So to kind of give you an example to ground this example is my profession, I am a naturopathic physician, I am an acupuncturist. So I am a healer by trade. I work with people, I'm a healthcare professional that helps people identify the root cause of their disease, and we take actions, protocols to help solve them. And so that's my livelihood, that's the way I make a living. And what's interesting is outside of my day job, if you will, I don't really for opportunities to help people in that capacity. Meaning outside of my working hours, I don't really try to find new patients, new clients. But somehow, some way, life keeps sending certain people to me, and I almost feel not worthy, but also I don't feel like it's in my capacity to take on more people to help them, which is again for me part of my limiting belief systems that I have to work on. But it's one of those things that I love to go back to is life will present you with the people and circumstances to help them. Just because you think that you're doing something for yourself doesn't also mean that you are also a blessing for that person, for that client, for that patient that is looking for exactly what you're offering. And for myself, I didn't connect that idea. I didn't think that I would be able to help this person because they had something that was not so directly related to what I do. So, for an example, again, I work with patients, right? But let's say, for example, someone came to me and they were looking for support in the areas of relationships with their family. And, that's something not directly related to physical health, but as we know, it is indirectly related, right, with your mental and emotional health. And again, what's amazing about energy healing is that your thoughts, your emotions all affect your energy body, affect the energy of your system, which eventually trickles down to affecting your physical body. So, in my case, by working on receptivity, working on conductivity, right? Seeing how, good karma, the good luck can materialize in my life in so many different ways. I started to change the way I think and see, like, okay, even though this person is not looking directly for health advice, there's something that I can provide that can help them instead of just deferring it and, like, okay, I know someone else for this, right? So that was a really big game changing mindset for myself, was to see that life will bring you the people that needs your blessings, right? Because you can help them again, whether for myself it's through health, you can help them through certain relationship, in business, right? In so many other different areas. And it's truly magnificent when you understand this, the concept of receptivity, when you can see opportunities and be aware of it and take it in and then act on it, which is conductivity. You just continue that cycle, right? You continue to be a blessing for other people's lives. And I like to even share this to even a degree that we don't think about, right? You don't have to have such a high status job or role or career to do this, right? Just because my profession, I'm a healthcare provider, that doesn't mean that any other profession or career can't do this too. And I take something as simple as being a janitor, right? We all know that the janitor cleans the space in, house, apartment, a building, a school, and they do a really important job, right? Without the janitor cleaning the space physically and also, as we know, energetically, right? When there's physical dirt, there's also energetic congestion, which affects the space. The janitor plays an immense role in keeping and maintaining the cleanliness of a space. And without that, people can't operate. We can't, we wouldn't be going to schools or buildings because it would be very dirty. So something as simple as janitor, has such a profound impact on the rest of us. And again, having good, clean energy is one of the factors to being receptive and conductive, right? Because when you have this clean energy in the space or in your body, like for ourselves, when our physical body gets dirty, we take a shower, or when we get energetically dirty, we do energy healing to clear that dirty energy out of our body. You become, again, more receptive and to be the person who you are and to share your gifts, to share your blessings. So, in that sense, we are all helping each other, right? When you're able to receive and give, the gifts that you are good at, we are helping each other grow and evolve. And again, something as simple as a janitor, too, has a profound impact that a lot of us may not be aware of. So, again, podcast episode was just to highlight the amazing concept of receptivity and conductivity. And I would ask yourself to take this time now to look at the areas of your life where looking at receptivity, right? What areas of your life are you resistant to taking in? What areas of your life do you feel like there's a where things are being poured to you, right? There are certain gifts, opportunities, blessings being presented to you, but you may be resistant to receiving it all, right? Taking it in. And then on the other side, I ask you, if you are taking in certain blessings, if you are taking in certain opportunities into your mind, into your body, are you acting on it 100% to the best of your ability? Are you taking the right actions, right? Diligently, consistently, right? With effort and energy to materialize those opportunities and to really take advantage of them. So these two are really important factors and really important questions to ask yourself because it applies to so many different areas, as I mentioned, right? It could be your health, it could be with your relationships, it could be with your finances, your business, it could be, with other people in terms of, your hobbies, your occupations, things like that. So this is why I really, really, really appreciate Master Choa Kok Sui's work in pranic healing, because even though it is primarily, marketed first as an energy healing system to help with health, we understand that the way we think, the emotions we feel, ultimately affect the actions that we take. And from that, we have to be very conscious of the thoughts and emotions we feel, because sometimes it might be actually hindering us from a lot bigger opportunities and actually taking advantage of it for our highest success and highest good. That's all for the podcast today. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate if you've gone this far. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, I would really appreciate if you consider being a subscriber. Your support helps the podcast stay running and helps us bring on other amazing guests and talk about other amazing topics about spirituality, about energy healing, and about just being a better person and growing and evolving. All right, all for today. Atma Namaste, everyone. Take care, and we hope to see you in the next podcast.